Have you ever found yourself craving a book that just does more? You know, a story that doesn't just entertain but genuinely pulls you in?
Yeah, something with layers.
Exactly. Blending like heartwarming romance with that real nail-biting suspense of investigative journalism. And on top of that, tackling some pretty serious real-world issues.
Hmm.
Well, if that sounds like your kind of read, then you are definitely in for a treat today. We're embarking on a deep dive into Mhairi McFarlane's really compelling novel, a novel.
Which, yeah, a lot of people also know is Cover Story, right? Same book.
Right, same book, different title depending on where you are.
And it's more than just a captivating read, isn't it? This book actually had this inspiring journey, even before it landed in a lot of our hands.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about that.
Well, it was the book Pham picked to kick off her huge 50 states, 50 Airbnbs, and 9 books in 50 days adventure.
Wow, I remember that.
Yeah. And that whole challenge raised an astonishing $11 million for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
That's incredible. So picking this book first, that's quite an endorsement.
It really is. It kind of suggests this book carries some real emotional weight, something that resonates beyond just the pages.
Absolutely. And wow, it certainly set a high bar for her reading list. So, okay, our mission today then is to really unpack the layers of Cover Story.
Get into it.
Yeah. We want to understand not just what makes it such a praised read, you hear about its sass, its depth, its heart, but how McFarlane manages to weave together character, plot, theme, all of it into something so compelling.
Right, what are those nuggets of knowledge we can pull out?
Exactly. And get ready for some aha moments, because we're going to explore how this, fake relationship plot crashes into high-stakes journalism.
And why it works so well. It sounds like a premise that promises charm, but also real consequence.
Which is such a great blend.
It really is. Rare, too.
Okay, so let's peel back that first layer, setting the stage. Our story kicks off with Bel Macauley. She's fresh off the success of a popular podcast.
Right, riding high a bit.
Yeah, and she suddenly steps into this surprisingly tiny Manchester bureau for a national newspaper.
Yeah.
You immediately get her ambition, her sharpness.
Mm-hmm. But then the tension ramps up almost instantly, doesn't it?
Oh, immediately. When we meet her new intern, Connor Adams, and he's not your typical intern, he's a guy in his 30s.
Yeah, just making this huge career switch, right? From finance, of all things, into journalism.
Exactly. Cutthroat finance to challenging journalism.
And the sources, they really highlight this immediate friction. It's not just awkwardness. It's described as instant sparks, and not the good kind.
Huh. Yeah, I remember reading that. Combustible is a good word for it.
Definitely. And that initial conflict is so important because it sets up their whole dynamic before any romance stuff even comes into play. They're kind of adversaries from minute one.
And then things escalate, really fast. They get forced into this completely wild situation. Bel and Connor have to pretend to be in a relationship, a fake relationship.
Which sounds crazy, but there's a reason, right?
There is. It's all to protect Bel's undercover story, which is incredibly sensitive, super high stakes. If it gets exposed, everything falls apart.
Okay, so the pressure is immense from the start.
Totally. I mean, on the surface, it just screams classic enemies to lovers, right? You've got the tension, the forced proximity. It's a trope we love.
Oh, absolutely. It hits all those beats, and McFarlane uses that really well. But what do you think lifts it, beyond just being a romance trope?
Well, you mentioned it earlier, that layer of journalistic intrigue.
Exactly. It's not just some, external plot thingy. It shapes everything they do, how they interact. It makes the forced proximity feel way more intense.
Right. They're not just arguing because they don't like each other initially.
No, they're clashing over big stuff. Ethics, professional integrity, their own pasts getting dragged into it. It means when they finally shift from enemies towards something else.
It feels earned.
Deeply earned, yeah. Because it's built on surviving this high-pressure situation together, sharing vulnerability under extreme stress.
That's such a great way to put it. The investigation isn't just background noise. It's the crucible, where their relationship gets forged. And speaking of complex, let's really get into these characters, Bel and Connor, because they are so much more than just standard archetypes.
Definitely.
Bel Macauley, for instance. She's presented as sharp, incredibly witty, really driven. You feel that intelligence just coming off the page.
Yeah, she is. But what makes her compelling, I think, is that McFarlane doesn't just make her strong. She makes her flawed. Genuinely, authentically flawed.
Oh, so?
Well, she's restless.
Yeah.
Still clearly haunted by some past trauma. And sometimes in her passion for justice, she kind of overreaches.
Right, charges in without maybe thinking through all the personal costs.
Exactly, which probably stems from whatever happened before. It just makes her feel real. Like the best heroes aren't perfect, right?
Hmm.
Their struggles often mirror the messy parts of real life, especially in activism or reporting. It makes her relatable.
Totally. And then there's Connor Adams, the ex-financier. You hear that and you might think, okay, maybe cynical, maybe a bit detached emotionally.
Well, you expect a certain type.
Yeah. But McFarlane gives us someone way more nuanced.
Oh, definitely. What's so good about Connor is his depth. He's layered, surprisingly vulnerable for a former finance guy, and really principled.
So why the career change? It wasn't just boredom.
No, not at all. It seems like he's genuinely escaping a life that was falling apart. He's confronting some dark stuff from his own past, trying to atone, maybe.
Yeah.
And he really wants to do journalism for the right reasons, ethically.
So it's a redemption arc almost.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
But it feels more about building a principled future than just erasing the past. It gives him real weight.
And their chemistry?
Yeah.
Wow. It starts with that sparky electric conflict.
Which is fun to read in itself.
Totally. But then as the fake relationship deepens, every sharp comment, every awkward moment where they almost connect, it just pulses with this real simmering something. It's such a good slow burn.
That slow unfolding is key, isn't it? It lets McFarlane peel back those initial enemy masks and show us the deeper characters we were just talking about.
Right.
So when they finally do connect properly, it doesn't feel rushed. It feels incredibly satisfying because you've been on that whole journey with them. The emotional payoff is huge.
Precisely. Okay, but let's shift gears a bit because like we said, Cover Story is way more than just the romance.
Right, the plot itself.
Yeah, beneath that really enjoyable rom-com structure, there's this serious, compelling investigative thread. Bel's main mission is unmasking this predatory mayor, a powerful guy.
High stakes.
Very. And Connor, of course, gets dragged right into it. He ends up having to go undercover with her.
And this journalism theme, it's not just backdrop. It's crucial, right? It anchors all the emotional chaos of the fake dating stuff with real consequences, real urgency.
It gives it gravity.
It really does. And it lets McFarlane tackle some big themes pretty deftly. You really feel the ethical tightrope of undercover reporting.
Oh, absolutely. The dilemmas they face.
And it touches on the messy reality of #MeToo, you know, how hard it actually is to hold powerful people accountable. The bravery it takes, the obstacles.
Yeah.
It feels very grounded in real-world challenges.
It doesn't shy away from that complexity.
Hang it all.
And while all this heavy stuff is going on, the setting itself just comes alive. That Manchester office, you can picture it. Kind of cozy, but chaotic.
Yeah, and the city itself, the descriptions, like you said, the converted mills, the wine bars.
Yeah.
It feels vivid, immersive.
It really does. It's not just a flat background. Manchester feels like another character almost, influencing the mood, grounding everything.
Those specific details make all the difference, don't they? They make the world feel lived in. You feel like you're right there with Bel and Connor, whether they're in a tense meeting or grabbing a quiet moment somewhere.
And we have to talk about the humor. McFarlane's trademark wit is just firing on all cylinders here.
Oh, yeah. Snappy dialogue, that dry wit.
Genuinely laugh out loud moments, which is great, but how do you think that humor works when the book is also dealing with these pretty heavy themes?
That's a really good question. I think the humor, which is consistently sharp, it's more than just comic relief. It feels like a coping mechanism for the characters and for us readers, maybe.
Helps process the darker stuff.
Exactly. By putting that witty banter right alongside the serious themes of abuse of power, ethical struggles, McFarlane creates this tension that feels very real. It shows how people find ways to connect, find light, even in tough times. It stops the book feeling too bleak.
Keeps the resilience visible.
Yeah, exactly. It reinforces that idea that struggle and joy or wit can coexist.
Okay, so the pacing. It's a pretty chunky book, over 400 pages. Did it always keep up the momentum for you?
Mostly, yeah. The emotional beats, the relationship development, that stuff is strong enough to keep you hooked, definitely. But admittedly, some sources did mention, and I kind of felt it too, that there are moments, particularly in some of the more detailed investigative passages, where the pace maybe slows down a touch.
Right, it gets a little bogged down in the procedural bits sometimes.
A little bit, perhaps. But it picks back up quickly. And the overall narrative richness is pretty remarkable, isn't it? You got the backstories, Bel's ex, Connor's internal struggles.
The personal stakes for both of them.
And the romance developing, and the investigation. It's a lot to juggle. It can feel a bit crowded sometimes.
That's fair. Did you feel those threads ultimately work together, though? Did they enrich it?
I think so, yeah. While maybe demanding a bit more focus from the reader occasionally, that complexity ultimately adds real depth. It mirrors life, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Our past, our jobs, our relationships, they're all tangled up.
true.
And McFarlane uses that layering, I think, to make every breakthrough feel bigger. Whether it's a step forward in the case or just a small moment of vulnerability between Bel and Connor, it feels more meaningful because of everything else swirling around them.
Right, it shows how all these different parts of life shape us. So when we boil it down, the strengths are pretty clear. That sharp dialogue,
Incredible dialogue.
realistic workplace dynamics, which I always appreciate.
Me too. Felt very authentic.
The emotional depth, the high-stakes journalism plot, and yeah, the really authentic enemies to lovers chemistry we keep coming back to.
It definitely checks a lot of boxes.
Absolutely. But for a balanced view, we should touch on those minor critiques again.
Right. So yeah, the occasional pacing slowdowns, especially in the investigation bits, maybe a few subplots feeling a little bit overcrowded at times, potentially pulling focus.
And didn't one reviewer feel some elements didn't quite mesh perfectly?
Yeah, there was a mention that for one person, not all the surrounding plot threads fully gelled together, which, raises that interesting question about balancing intricate plotting with overall narrative flow. It's a tough tightrope to walk.
It is, especially with this much going on. But it's helpful to manage expectations a bit. So, okay, final word. Overall verdict on cover story.
Well, for me.
It feels like quintessential Mhairi McFarlane, doesn't it?
Oh.
Smart, really heartfelt, and just wonderfully layered.
I completely agree. I think drawing it all together, its lasting appeal is how it delivers that genuine laughter and deep feeling, the romance. But it never shies away from the big stuff. Power, redemption, integrity.
All wrapped up in that gripping journalism story.
Exactly. It's just a really satisfying, multifaceted read.
So who is this book really for? I'd say if you love enemies to lovers, but done with real nuance.
Yeah, not just the surface tropes.
Right, and workplace romance, but spiced up with actual meaningful stakes. If you like strong, emotionally complex characters who feel like real people.
Definitely. Flawed, but relatable.
And sharp, witty writing that still feels sincere, then cover story is probably going to feel like both comfort food and something excitingly new.
Yeah, familiar in the best way, but also bold.
It's a story that really makes you invest not just in the will they won't they, but in the whole pursuit of truth.
And it makes you believe, maybe just this once, that a fake story, something born out of pure necessity, could actually turn into something undeniably real.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, what does cover story really leave us with? For me, it's that idea that even in the most manufactured setups, genuine connection, real purpose can still blossom. It makes you believe that, yeah, maybe a fake story could become something truly real.
And that leads to a pretty important question for you, the listener, doesn't it? In this world just flooded with stories, some real, some, well, fabricated, how do you navigate it all? How do we figure out the truth of our own connections, our own convictions? What stories do we choose to believe in? And maybe more importantly, why?
That's a great thought to end on. Keep exploring, keep reading, and keep asking those questions about the power and the truth of stories.